Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you think the Baltic Sea is just a large body of water connecting northern Europe, well, you should prepare for a bit of a geographical and biological contradiction.
It really is.
We are talking about a region that is, on one hand, intensely familiar. It borders major industrial nations, but on the other, it is just stuffed with biological surprises.
Right. It's a sea where you can find freshwater pike, but every so often a dolphin just wanders in.
Exactly. It supports polar ice for half the year, but then it contains areas that geologically look almost like a dried-up mini-Sahara. It makes no sense.
And today we're focusing squarely on the far northern reaches of the Baltic, specifically that labyrinthine Gulf of Bothnia and the Kvarken archipelago, which is, right where Finland and Sweden almost meet.
So our mission for this deep dive is to take the sources you've shared, which is this fascinating nature documentary about this extreme habitat, and really extract the core insights. We need to explain exactly why this region is so unique.
Focusing on two main things, right? The low salinity and the geology.
Yes, how life survives that exceptionally low salt content, and critically, how it's being visibly shaped by one of the fastest ongoing geological shifts on Earth. We're here to find those surprising connections, the aha moments you just don't see coming.
It's an excellent mission because this environment, it forces specialization. To start, let's just define the setting. The Gulf of Bothnia is vast.
How vast are we talking?
Well, it's comparable in size to a country like Slovakia, and yet it remains, perhaps the least understood corner of the entire Baltic Sea.
And what defines it immediately is the ice. When we say extreme, we really mean it. This northern zone is covered by a massive ice shield from mid-October, sometimes right up to May.
And that ice can be thick, up to 1.2 meters.
Which is incredible for a sea.
That degree of freezing, so extensive and for so long, is highly unusual, and it all comes back to what you call the salinity secret. The salt content here is barely existent. We're talking just 0.5%.
So 0.5% salinity, that's almost fresh water. Why is it so sweet? Is it really just the sheer volume of freshwater runoff?
Absolutely. Think of it as this massive low-lying basin that is just constantly being sweetened by huge inflows.
Okay.
For perspective, the 400-kilometer-long River Tornio is a major contributor. It's one of Europe's longest natural rivers, pouring all this meltwater from up near the Arctic Circle right along the border of Sweden and Finland.
So all that river input just dilutes the entire sea.
It dilutes the whole thing, which means the freezing point is much higher than typical ocean water. That's the crucial ecological shift right there.
It makes sense. It's an ocean that behaves like a huge lake when it comes to freezing. And of course, if you're up there in the deep winter, you get that incredible cosmic show.
The Northern Lights.
Yeah, when the solar winds meet the atmosphere, you're just watching them paint the sky, sometimes glowing for hours, sometimes winking out in minutes. It's an amazing backdrop to this whole frozen world.
And that harsh frozen landscape is the very definition of home for certain species. Take the ringed seal, for instance. There are about 10,000 of them in this northern region, and their survival is entirely dependent on that deep, solid ice.
That's a critical point. They don't just tolerate the ice, they use it as a sanctuary.
It's their nursery. The mother seal needs to find a massive snowdrift on the pack ice and dig a whole protected cave system inside it.
It becomes this kind of icy subterranean labyrinth, right?
It really does. She'll dig multiple exits down into the water so she can slip out and hunt while the pup is protected. But when the ice is 1.2 meters thick, just maintaining access to air is a constant battle.
How do they do that?
They use these specialized, strong claws on their front fins to scrape and extend breathing holes, constantly fighting against the freezing.
The thought of having to constantly scrape ice just to take a breath is exhausting. It just highlights the immense energy it takes to live here.
It does. But their adaptations are incredible. They can dive for around 45 minutes to depths of up to 300 meters, hunting fish that live beneath that ice.
And what's interesting is the context of the threat. In the Arctic, ringed seals have to deal with polar bears.
Exactly. Here, they're relatively safe from land predators, but the danger comes from above.
Right, the massive sea eagle. With a wingspan stretching 2.5 meters, it's a lethal predator for the pups.
Though sometimes the eagle just conserves energy and employs this kind of aerial harassment technique. You see them cornering smaller birds like herring gulls until the exhausted gull literally panics and spits up the fish it just caught.
It's just calculated thievery. Even in the deepest freeze, though, there are these rare pockets of open water that become absolute lifelines. The Kukulaforsen Rapids on the River Tornio, for instance.
They're so fast-moving they never freeze, even when the temperature hits -30. and that open water sustains highly specialized hunters. The otter is a fantastic example.
We talk about insulation, but the degree here is just extreme.
It is. Its dense fur has 50,000 hairs per square centimeter.
Wait, say that again?
50,000 hairs per square centimeter. That is 400 times more hair than a human has.
Wow, 400 times. You feel the cold just thinking about that difference.
Well, it keeps the otter perfectly dry and protected, allowing it to stay submerged for up to 8 minutes while hunting. But there is a huge metabolic cost to that.
Which is the real insight, isn't it? That amazing fur requires an equally amazing intake of energy.
Precisely. They lose so much warmth in that water that they need up to 1 kilogram of food daily just to maintain their body temperature. Without those unfrozen rapids providing constant access to prey, they just wouldn't survive the winter.
And they're not the only ones using that little refuge.
No, you also find the white-throated dipper. This small, incredible diving songbird that looks totally out of place in a minus 20-degree environment.
But it uses those same currents to find its food, pulling caddisfly larvae right out of the frigid water.
It's a complete little ecosystem built around this singular condition of ice and low salinity.
Okay, so we have this environment of incredible resilience under the ice. But let's fast forward. The true drama begins when spring finally breaks. We're moving about 300 kilometers south to the Kvarken archipelago.
Kvarken is visually striking. It's a maze of thousands of islands characterized by these corrugated deposits, these long-ridged lines of rock jutting out of the water.
The remnants of the primeval glaciers, right?
Exactly, the glaciers that once scoured the land. It's also famously rich in fish.
And the ice lingers long enough that ice fishing is a key cultural activity. It's a national sport in Finland, even when it's still below 20 degrees. And those anglers, they inadvertently play a huge role in the food web.
They absolutely do. The sea eagles, which nearly vanished in the 1970s but survived in Kvarken, now thrive here. They have about 35 summer pairs, but up to 300 individuals might winter in the region.
But they can't hunt if the sea is frozen over.
Right, which is why they're so dependent on the leftovers from ice anglers or from special food points created for them. Otherwise, they'd be forced to migrate south.
That's a wonderful example of human activity creating this unexpected ecological bridge for a massive predator. We also see a softer side of spring with the whooper swans.
Yes, Finland's national bird. The currents running between those thousands of islands often keep small patches of water open, allowing dozens of mute and whooper swans to winter there.
And they're known for their loyalty.
Profound loyalty. They mate for life, and every spring they reaffirm that bond with this dramatic, synchronized dance on the water, accompanied by those loud, resonant, trombone-like calls.
It's an incredibly moving, visually striking ritual. I think today there are almost 7,000 nesting pairs in Finland, which is a huge success story.
But the real ecological explosion happens when the ice breaks entirely and triggers the Great Migration.
Because of that low salinity again?
Exactly. Most of the fish are freshwater varieties, perch, roach, and pike, and they require pure meltwater river estuaries to reproduce successfully.
So what you get is this desperate, massive rush of fish, leaving the slightly salty Baltic and heading into these freshwater bottlenecks to spawn.
And naturally, that creates an absolute feeding frenzy. It attracts every hunter in the area, eagles, gulls, and even opportunistic cranes.
That's where you see the shift in behavior. Cranes usually eat seeds and insects, but here,
When the pikes are exhausted and struggling through these shallow bottlenecks, the cranes become predators, using their sharp beaks to just tear apart these big fish.
it sounds almost medieval.
Yeah.
But here's where the pike story gets truly fascinating and a little dark. Because the females are so much larger than the males, the spawning run is extremely dangerous for the smaller males.
The females will actually eat them.
They are quite keen on eating them.
It's the ultimate fatal attraction. But fortunately for the males, evolution has provided a temporary solution. The females develop a bite inhibition during the actual mating process.
So it's a temporary truce.
A temporary truce, exactly. They spawn for hours in portions, laying over 100,000 eggs that adhere instantly to the vegetation in the shallow water.
So a temporary suspension of natural predation ensures the species continues. Meanwhile, the cranes are going into overdrive with their own mating ritual.
Oh, the dancing, it's intense. Joyful dancing, jumping, wing flapping, calling in a duet. It's this high-energy performance that's not just romantic, but it's essential for signifying cohesion before the breeding season.
It's just stunning to see that level of biological urgency play out.
And if we connect this immediate annual drama to the bigger picture, It's all happening on a stage that is fundamentally, visibly shifting beneath their feet.
Because of the geology, we're talking about land uplift.
Or isostatic rebound, yeah.
This is truly the most astonishing fact we pulled from the sources. We're talking about a geological phenomenon caused by the Earth's crust slowly springing back up after being crushed down by a 3-kilometer thick ice shield.
Right, an ice shield that covered the area up until about 10,000 years ago.
And it's not just happening, it's happening fast.
Mhm.
On a geological timeline, this movement is rapid. The ground is rising by about 1 centimeter annually.
A centimeter doesn't sound like much.
But a meter every 100 years is profoundly visible in a human lifetime. The impact is constant and immediate in places like the Kevarkan Archipelago. Harbors constantly have to be moved and dredged.
They become too shallow. And those beautiful classic boathouses you see along the shore?
They'll be on dry land soon.
Literally. And this movement leads to the stunning projection. The big takeaway is that if this rate continues, in only 2,500 years, a blink of an eye, geologically, the islands will have risen so much that you will be able to walk from Finland to Sweden.
Right across what is now open sea. To really visualize the magnitude, we need to look across the water, about 20 kilometers, to the Swedish side, which is known as Höga Kusten.
The high coast. This is where the crust was pressed down deepest by the ancient glacier, meaning it rebounded the most dramatically. The coastline here has risen about 200 meters since the ice retreated,
creating these incredible landscapes with deep canyons, mountain lakes, and moors that are now hundreds of feet above the current Baltic sea level.
And this constant reshaping forces animals to adapt in unexpected ways, even inland. Let's look at the Samis, half-wild, roving, domestic reindeer.
They spend the warmer seasons further inland, but come winter,
They migrate right back toward the coast. They do this because the snow cover is generally less deep near the sea, making it easier to dig for their primary food lichens and moss.
and their specialized hooves are essential.
Oh, absolutely. They use those wide, cloven hooves like built-in snowshoes to distribute their weight. They're so well adapted that they often use the Baltic ice itself as a bridge, crossing between islands to find new feeding grounds.
The wildlife up here is just profoundly powerful. Moose, of course, are common, and they represent the sheer raw strength of this boreal ecosystem.
And it's crucial to respect that distance when you encounter them. They look somewhat docile, but an angry cow protecting her calf is incredibly dangerous. They've been known to trample people to death. They are the true heavyweights of the forest.
And speaking of surprising forest dwellers, we have to mention the elusive flying squirrel.
One of Europe's rarest animals, found only in Estonia and Finland.
It's a creature of specialized habit. It relies entirely on these old-growth forests and uses abandoned woodpecker holes for nesting.
And they don't actually fly, of course. They glide up to 35 meters using these skin flaps that stretch between their limbs.
And their activity changes seasonally. They become diurnal, active during the day, specifically in the spring for their mating ritual.
The female takes the lead. She marks branches and the entrance to her designated nursery hollow with a distinct scent from glands in her cheeks, signaling her readiness to mate. It's an incredibly precise way of sustaining a rare population.
So let's circle back to the Kevarkan Islands one last time, where this relentless geological change is still happening. These rising islands create an ideal, safe breeding environment for ground-nesting birds.
The safety comes directly from the geography. Because there's so much water between the islands, land predators like foxes find it incredibly difficult to reach the nests.
Though aerial predators are still a major threat. You see that constant conflict between the mew gull on sentry duty and the hooded crow.
The crow is a famously skillful, stubborn nest robber. It'll withstand an attack from an entire squad of gulls just to steal a chick or an egg.
And offshore near the high coast, the eider ducks show up seasonally, illustrating this fierce competition for mates. You can see up to 10 magnificent males competing for the attention of just one inconspicuous female.
And once she accepts, the female lines her nest with her own downy feathers known globally for their superior warmth. The young are immediately self-sufficient. They swim and dive instantly, forming these giant kindergartens led by several parent birds.
So we've covered the entire spectrum here. The Northern Baltic is truly unique. A sea that freezes solid for half the year, yet supports freshwater fish. It demands radical specialization.
From the seals that maintain breathing portals with their claws, to the otters that require that extreme metabolism, to the rare gliding squirrels in the forest.
We've seen life surviving at the intersection of extreme biological adaptation and a relentless, powerful geological change that is visibly reshaping the coastline. year after year.
And the most profound takeaway for me is that incredible contrast between the timescales.
Go on.
Well, you have these ancient annual rhythms, the synchronized mating dance of the whooper swans, the overwhelming joy of the dancing cranes, ensuring life continues year after year, and then you have that massive, slow, unstoppable force of the Earth's crust, springing back with such force that in just 2,500 years, you could walk from Finland to Sweden.
And what stands out to you, the listener, is the speed of that change. What other places on Earth are experiencing such rapid, visible geological change in a time frame we can almost comprehend, right alongside a biological stability that has endured for millennia? The Baltic really demands that we appreciate both of those scales simultaneously.